Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Tuesday night here in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be discussing the Race to World First, the Venomous Abyss, the main raid fight of the patch 12.1 Curse of Ulitek. Of course, Ulitek Mythic is going to be the final boss, so we're going to go over all of the we're going to discuss the raid and the race and all of that stuff. So it should be pretty good. We've also got a bunch of news. And I just wanted to, on a personal note, or rather on a podcast note, this is episode 150 of Azeroth United. Now, I stopped reporting on the episode numbers. I'm not hiding them by any means, but I'm not putting them in the title anymore, and I'm not making really as big of a deal about them. But episode 150 does feel like a little bit of a mini milestone. I do about 50 episodes a year. Every so often I'll miss an episode here or there. Maybe it'll be a little bit more, maybe less, whatever. But here we are, episode 150, and it's been quite a ride. So by this time next year, obviously we'll be at episode 200, and I don't know, I'll figure out something special to do for that. But I just wanted to make the acknowledgement here, episode 150. I've been doing this for 3 years now, or just about 3 years, and having a great time. And so far, not showing any interest of slowing down, but I don't know. You tell me if you want me to shut up. Maybe I need to take a step back. I don't know. But seriously, please don't, because I love getting on here and just yapping about World of Warcraft. It's so much fun. I was talking to a coworker today about Classic Plus and all of that. It's just, I just love talking about WoW. I guess maybe I'm a little obsessed. I don't know. But anyway, episode 150, good times. But no real celebration or anything. It's just, like I said, it's a little mini milestone that I thought I'd point out. So, all right. Before I get into the news, we'll do a quick rundown of what we got up to last week in World of Warcraft. Obviously, I've completely slowed down in Classic. So raid logging and TBC Anniversary, not exactly what I wanted to be doing in TBC, but here's where we are. I mean, we did do a one night clear of Serpentine and Tempest Keep. We did not kill Gruul or Magtheridon on Friday. So we did come back Saturday night for Gruul and Mag, which I felt was a little odd because while, yes, we want to try and get a DST and there's some other things that we're still looking for. That was a weird ask to have 25 people show up for 3 bosses who are 1 tier behind. I mean, we're right on the precipice of phase 3, so they're about to be 2 phases behind, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I know now, after having done it during phase 1, I know that raid leading is hard, and sometimes you have to make those tough calls. But still, that felt a little weird. So, no shade on you guys. You're doing a great job, but and honestly, I probably would have ended up having to make the same call myself. I just felt like it was a little weird. So, right. In midnight, we have the release of patch 12.1. So we got all the new content there, the Coiled Isle, Curse Surges, Temple Strikes, the new dungeon, all that stuff. I have to say, as unimpressed as I've been with the whole troll aesthetic, the characters that they created for the Amani are really cool. I like Zul'Jin. I like Zul'Jara. Kandura was cool. It's interesting, but the rest of the Amani are kind of faceless. It's just a random troll that you have to go talk to for this or that or the other thing. I did really like the Coiled Isle. I like the Tortolans that are there. I think that's a really nice touch. Add that in. There's a little bit of Sethrak activity there, but not enough to justify a full-on, are we getting Sethrak as a playable race conversation, at least not right now. And yeah, it was really good. Curse Surges were okay. I don't dislike the Curse Surges. They're fine. The Temple Strikes or whatever the incursions, whatever you call that thing, that was a little awkward because it didn't seem to work correctly. Like you could jump in and out whenever you wanted, but unless you did it in the correct order, you weren't getting credit for it. I don't know. It felt a little odd. So you get all these quests to go and do all the content. Cool. That's great. Show people here's what you need to go do. I just found it a little odd that part of that was, okay, I'm doing the content. I'm literally doing it right now, but I'm not doing it the quote right way. And I think that should be a little more clear. I think that's something that Blizzard needs to work on. They create all these systems within a patch cycle or whenever they introduce them. And it should feel intuitive how you go about it. And because these are just occurring all the time, it didn't really, it didn't feel like there was a good jumping in point. Like the first time I went in there, I'm running around trying to figure out what's going on, and my thing goes off and it's like, oh, there's the rare. Okay, so I go down there, I kill that. Well, that's the last boss. So I kill the last boss first, which means that I didn't get credit for the stuff that I was supposed to get. Plus, I missed a quest because you have to do something. You have to run the dungeon before it opens up other quests. It was weird. And speaking of the dungeon, I actually ran the dungeon. So it's like, oh, go talk to Lady Leadrin. I'm like, okay, go talk to Lady Leadrin and then go run the dungeon. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just doing a follower dungeon. I'm not trying to do anything complicated. So I did a follower dungeon for the new dungeon. And at the end, I realized I didn't get credit for anything. So I left the dungeon, I went back and talked to Leadrin, and then she's like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, let me know when you want to go to the dungeon. I was like, God damn it. It was a step added onto the quest of talking to her. So I had to run it again. And I was like, I'm not doing a follower dungeon again. That was brutal. It's just awful. The followers are just so bad right now. So I queued for it as heroic, and ran that. And that was actually fine. So I don't know. It was, I feel like Blizzard had a really great idea with follower dungeons. It doesn't feel good. And I guess maybe that's not my pace, and that's okay. Not everything needs to be my pace. It could be whatever. It doesn't matter. But I do feel like maybe they should have buffed them up a little bit, or I don't know. The other thing that I found really interesting, especially in this one, is that the tank will lead as long as you're right behind her. It's like, well, I'm a hunter. I don't want to be right behind you because if my pets will start aggroing shit. So I'd rather stay back a little bit and let you pull. But no, you have to be right behind her or she won't pull. So that was a little frustrating. Anyway, running on heroic was easy. So I'm not doing it. Follower dungeons anymore. There's just no point. So yeah, I did that, messed around with that. I did the new praise. Nothing exciting there. It's hard mode praise is pretty easy, even on a kind of mid-geared character. I think my item level at the end of the week was 275, which is just in between adventurer and veteran track. So not a great item level by any means, but I was able to do hard mode prey and tier 8 delves, no problem. So it's fine. So yeah, that's what we got there. But the story is good. I like the story. I really do like the underground area. It is weird having that transition when you fly in, you get dismounted so you can get on your ground mount. I get it. I get why they did it. They don't want people flying around under there. Sure, fine, whatever. But I don't know. There's just a little bit of awkwardness. I would rather have had a, you got to click on a door or something, and that's how you get off your mount. It's just having it dismount you is jarring. And I feel like Blizzard could have done a better job smoothing that particular mechanic out, but it's okay. It's a nitpick. It's not a big deal. But yeah, the new content, I feel like it's all really good. I like the story. I like how it's progressing. I like Zul'Jin as a character. It sucks that we're gonna have to kill him. But yeah, that's where you go. But we'll get into all that in a little bit. And that's pretty much it. I just mostly played my hunter. Like I said, I got to G75. I haven't checked my vault for the day because I was working and when servers were down this morning. So, but I'll check in this afternoon or this evening rather and see everything that's going on. So, yeah, and that's about it. I did play a little bit of classic era. Ran my daughter through the stockade. She's like, Dad, can you run me through the stockade? I was like, yeah, that's fine. It's there's people and you could get into groups, but especially the low level, all I see, I was standing outside the stockade because she's like, I'm just going to go pick up the quest. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I'm on my paladin, standing outside the stockade, level 60, got my shield on and everything. And all I see is people running past a level 60 with 2 or 3 people on follow going into the stockade. And that was it. And I thought, this is what Classic Era is. It's not, hey, come play Classic forever. It's now that you have level 60s, you could just run people through stuff. So there's really not a lot of groups being formed for, especially the lower level stuff. There was groups, but if I logged into my 58 Hunter, and I was like, oh, I wonder if there's groups for like BRD and stuff like that. And there were. I didn't feel like running any at the time, but I was like, okay, so I can at least do stuff on here. But I think that Classic Era, it's great having it there, and it's great serving as a museum piece. But I do think that if Blizzard decided to make a Wrath or a TBC era server, it would suffer a worse fate than that, because first of all, you're not going to have people leveling up a brand new character on Wrath era. If you have to level from 1 to 80, that's going to be rough. So you're not going to have people running through low level content at all. And because it's anniversary, you have all the run through restrictions. So you can't run your characters through stuff. So there's just no incentive to make a new character on those era servers. In addition, once you leave content, like, okay, so if it's Wrath era, for example, 1 through 60, that's all done. Nobody's doing that content. 70 or 60 to 70, nobody's doing the TBC content either. There's only people doing Wrath content, and it's only people farming ICC because they want Invincible, or farming farming Ulduar because they want Mimiron's Head. That's it. That's all you're going to end up with on Wrath era. And what's the point of that? I mean, I guess for some people it's cool, but I don't know. I don't get it. If you really love Northrend, I guess it's cool, but I just don't see why Blizzard would do that. So anyway, okay, let's move on to the mailbag. Still no bumper for this one. I gotta get on that. Yeah, Siri, remind me to make a bumper for the mailbag. I don't have Siri. I'm just kidding. So we've got 2 Spotify comments this week. They both come from episode 149, The Evolution of World of Warcraft. By the way, I had a lot of fun with that episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I got a lot of positive comments about it, but I put a lot of research into it, a lot of work putting it together. And after I was done with it, I looked at the runtime of the episode and what I had just gone through, and I thought, oh my God, I just rambled for 2 hours. This is terrible. This is a disaster. But people did seem to like it. I hope they weren't just being kind and polite. But yeah. So anyway, 2 comments from that episode. The first one is from Leighton McComb. Great pod as always regarding healing and add-on. I agree. Resto Shaman is super fun, and Healbot is my healing add-on since 2009 or so. It makes healing so much easier, and I set totems to my side mouse buttons. Hope this helps. It does. I was using oh God, now I can't remember the name of it. It's a different healing add-on. It's like Healbot, but it's the same type of thing. But my biggest problem with healing add-ons like that is they're kind of a pain to configure. And so if the add-on breaks during like a new patch or anything like that, then you're kind of struggling. I wish there was a better way to do it. But yeah, that's probably what I'm going to have to do is just install Healbot or something. I remember, there's another one. There's a bunch of healing add-ons. I just need to do some research on it. But anyway, thank you for the comment. I really do appreciate it. Healing is fun. I didn't play my shaman this week because I was trying to do all the new stuff on my hunter. So the other comment comes from HP0927. If you recall, this is the person that actually gave me the idea for the episode in the first place to talk about the evolution of Warcraft systems. And they say, wow, big thanks for the rundown. It was exactly what I was looking for. Really appreciate it. It never ceases to amaze me how long WoW has been running for and has evolved. I love your deep dive episodes. Your episode on Classic Plus was great, for example, and your take on it is something I haven't heard before, and I'm now convinced that this is going to be a separate game. Looking forward to future episodes with deep dives. Well, thank you. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, and I do this, 1, because I love talking about WoW, but 2, I'm trying to entertain and trying to come up with not my niche necessarily, because World of Warcraft is my niche, but there's news shows And there's, you've got your wacky, we're having fun, like, it's a drinking show, or you have your interview shows. I don't really do any of those very well. And so I've tried really hard to kind of come up with what is something that I'm good at. And I don't know that I'm necessarily good at deep dives, but it's something I enjoy. So I think that's probably, at least that's where my focus has been leaning more towards. And so I'm probably going to be doing more and more of that as time goes on. If you are enjoying the show and you'd like to leave a comment or a review and have it read on the air, you can do that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And when you're doing so, if you wouldn't mind leaving a 5-star rating, that would also really, really help. But, rate with your heart. But, so yeah, if you put your comments in there, I'll read them on the air. All right, let's move on to the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so I mentioned this last week, but I felt it was worth reminding people. There is a Twitch drop now available. It is the Sorcerer's Grassy Garb Transmog. You can earn this by watching any eligible World of Warcraft stream on Twitch TV from August 11th until September 8th. And I think you need 4 hours of Twitch viewing to grab your transmog. It's free transmog, so I'm not saying it's a great transmog, but it is free. And now's a really good time to get those Twitch hours in because the Race to World First is going. And so you can just put on Liquid's stream or Echo's stream or whoever you want to root for. Or put on something completely different. You want to watch someone going around doing treasure hunts or ritual sites or checking out the new content, whatever you like. Transmog, housing. Housing is a great one to watch because people love to stream housing builds. That's actually a really cool a really cool thing that's developed on Twitch is housing builds. So, and with all of the new blueprints going around, it's great because people will be able to do a housing build on stream. And at the end of it, they can go, okay, well, if you want this build that I just built on stream, here's the blueprint for it. I think that's really cool. So, but yeah, check out the Twitch drop for the Sorcerer's Grassy Garb Transmog on Twitch TV until September 8th. All right. In classic news, we actually do have some classic news. So we've got the Phase 3 is coming next week. And right now it's on the PTR. But during raid testing this past weekend, they actually had haste potions and destruction potions available for 1 Mark of Illidari for 10 potions on the PTR. And I think Blizzard is just kind of feeling this out, seeing if this is something that could work. I don't know if they'll end up doing that as a feature in Phase 3. I think that would be really cool. I think that would probably really help a lot of these teams that are struggling with farming and getting mats, because it's just ridiculously expensive. I think the last time I checked, haste potions were 20 gold a pop. And if you're killing 15 bosses, or however many is it? No, 14 bosses in a raid tier, it's at least 14 haste potions. That's a lot of gold. So yeah, if that's something that they're actually thinking of adding, I think that would be great. But we'll see when we get more information about the Phase 3 launch next week. I'm assuming we'll get like a patch notes or something. I'm hoping. There was also conversation at the time when they announced Phase 3. No, it was when they announced Phase 2, and they said in Phase 3 they were going to make dungeon boss drop loot changes. I haven't said anything about that. People are kind of questioning, like, is that something that they're actually going to do? I don't know. I feel like, and I've said this before, I feel like a broken record, but Blizzard has been so non-communicative when it comes to Classic, especially with the anniversary. Obviously, Mop Classic is running into the ground right now, and nobody is really expecting anything to happen there. But with the Anniversary Classic, people are at least expecting there to be a Wrath of the Lich King. I'm still torn. I don't know that Blizzard will actually do Wrath of the Lich King at this point. If they are putting all of their eggs into the Classic Plus basket, they may decide not to. But either way, a little communication would have been nice from Blizzard on some of these things. They were doing dev blogs. They had all this communication, and then everything just stopped because BlizzCon's coming up, and they're going to announce Classic Plus, and I just really don't feel good about the future of Anniversary. So, yeah, it is what it is. All right. I don't know what else to say. It sucks because I had so much fun playing Anniversary, and now it's like, why am I going to waste my time with this? I'm raid logging because I still like my raid team. And if I go to BlizzCon and Blizzard's like Wrath of Lich King, I feel like that's going to energize me to play more Anniversary. But it also depends on what they say as far as Classic Plus goes. So I guess we'll find out in a little less than a month now. All right. In Modern WoW, a couple things here. First off, there was a mistake. The intro quest line that gives you an extra spark, crafting spark, was switched over to the new sparks during patch 12.1 launch. So players were able to get 3 sparks last week. And so Blizzard, rather than take that away from people, has decided to just say, okay, everybody gets 4 sparks next week. So that's this week. Where we are now, you have the ability to earn 4 sparks, which means that you could potentially have your 2-handed weapon crafted before raid this week, depending on when your raid night is, which is huge for some of these guilds. You could also have, your 2 one-handers or your bracers and a back or whatever it is that you feel like crafting. You'll be able to craft 2 items, and I think this is the first time that's ever been possible. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's a really good way of handling that situation with Blizzard because, the temptation is there to just say, we're going to penalize these players, or alternately, we're going to give everyone an extra spark, which still gives those players an extra spark. This way, just increasing the cap to 4, I think that's the right way to do it. So, yeah, hopefully that works out. That's the type of thing, instead of trying to penalize, they just need to give us more. And not saying, oh, just give us all the loot, Blizzard. But, when you've screwed up, the correct solution is never to punish the player for your mistake. Punish yourself, or just allow everybody to have. So, speaking of punishing players, Blizzard has removed the Mythic Lura mount from some players. There's a little bit of question and or concern as to whether or not this is based off of RMT, but Blizzard isn't saying. But the message that this person got in the mail says, greetings, during a recent review, we found 1 or more rewards gained on this account were connected to activity that violates our in-game policies. As a result, we have removed these rewards from your account. Yeah. So, here's the thing. Boosting is part of the game, and it's not against the rules. Boosting communities are against the rules, but if your guild boosts and, you say, hey, give us 200,000 gold and we'll let you come along for a Mythic Lure amount, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is completely within the rules. However, if you give somebody $50 through Discord, and then they take you and you kill Laura and you get them out, that's against the rules. And I think that's the type of thing that we're seeing more likely, is that people are giving money outside of the game. And honestly, I think this is one of the reasons why the Discord integration is going, is because they want to be able to see and monitor that if you are, in fact, doing these transactions through Discord, which means that probably what's going to happen is all of these RMT boosting sale type Discord servers are going to move off of Discord and go somewhere else. Which it's fine. See, I don't personally like the idea of boosting. I feel like if that's not something that I'm going to do, then fine. But there's a gray line. And this is actually something that they talked about on the Bench podcast, which was, there's a line between, hey, I'm a person and I see this powerful guild clearing mythic bosses. I'm going to give you in-game gold, and in return, you will take me and help, I will kill this boss and get the loot. Versus, I'm a random person and I'm friends with somebody in this other guild who is going to bring me and take me through, and I will get the loot from Mythic boss. It's the same exact thing, except in one case, I handed over gold, and in the other case, it's my buddy who got me in on that run. And even worse is if I say, hey, I don't have 200,000 gold, but I will give you this much money in exchange for it. So, and because of the WoW token, it feels odd that it's like, well, why wouldn't you just buy a bunch of WoW tokens and give them the gold? But they don't want the gold. They just want cash. And that's the problem, is that these guilds want to skip the middleman of the WoW token and effectively taking Blizzard out of the loop. So, but should it be wrong, or should I feel bad about my mount because my buddy helped me get it versus I paid a guild to help me get it? I don't know the answer to that. And I think realistically, it's up to you and your own standards and your own feelings of how you feel about this sort of thing. But if you want to get boosted, get boosted. I mean, I boosted my daughter through the stockade. Is that wrong? She didn't pay me, but I did boost her. So is that a bad thing? Is that bad for the game? I think some people would argue it is. Some people would argue, who cares? You're just playing however you want. I don't know. I think that's a deep dive conversation for another day. Right. Okay. Let's go back to player housing for a second. So Blizzard has launched the player housing blueprints forum. So there's already a player housing forum, but now we have a blueprint specific forum. So you can post pictures of your house, and then at the end you go, here's the blueprint, and people can try it out. I've seen so many cool ones, and not just on the forum, but also on Reddit. Somebody did a whole bunch of different cars. They had like the Batmobile that they designed in their house. It's really cool. I really like the blueprint system because now I feel comfortable going, I'm going to experiment with something. And if I get an hour into this and I realize I hate what I did, it's not, I haven't destroyed my house now, right? I can just restore it from backup, basically. I do still want the ability to design something and transport it around my house. Like, okay, this piano is now an object that I can move around. And that's okay. I don't need that right now, but I do really like the state of housing where it is. They've added some really cool new decor items with patch 12.1 that are making it really fun to do more housing stuff. So I'm having a good time with it. I know a lot of people that I've talked to really enjoy housing. It's tough though, because there are very loud people who very proudly proclaim how much disdain they have for housing. If you don't want to do housing, that's fine. But to kind of crap on other people because you think it's beneath you, that's not cool. If you don't like it, just don't do it. It's not a big deal. But to shit on everyone else because, why are you doing this housing? Go play, Barbie house or Animal Crossing or whatever. It's like, come on. Are we really still doing that? It's so childish. But anyway, check out the new housing blueprints forum. I'm just so happy that the community has latched onto this, and it's like, here's my stuff. Here you go, check it out. I was worried that people would be like, oh, you want to see my housing build, or you want to use my housing build? It's going to cost you, this much gold, because there's no rules against that. I haven't seen anything anyway. You subscribe to my Patreon. Top tier patrons get access to all my housing blueprints. I mean, I was ready for that, but I haven't seen it. Maybe I am not looking in the right places. I'm sure it exists somewhere, but I'm just glad to see people embracing this and are really having fun with housing. So cool. Talking about the future, Blizzard has put the patch 12.1.5 PTR on the Battle.net launcher, which means we will probably get a PTR announcement soon, and then we'll be able to get in there and check out what's coming next. And on the roadmap, Blizzard did put patch 12.1.5. We were going to get the new Labyrinth Delve, which was like the raid-sized Delve, which will be really cool. And then also the new patch 12.1.5 single boss raid. So both of those will be coming up. That's shaping up to be a pretty big patch. So hopefully we'll get that soon. Maybe even by the time you listen to this, it'll already have been announced. And I will sound like an idiot speculating about it right now. When are we going to get it? Dude, it's already here. Oh man, that's cool. All right. One final thing that I will mention here, but I'll discuss it down the road a little bit. So Blizzard has released the class tuning roadmap for Midnight Season 2. And it's going to run through September 22nd. And they're basically just going to go through and fine-tune classes, make hotfixes, whatever they need to do to adjust classes as the raid progresses. So it'll start during the Race to World first, but it'll continue on even after that as we progressively find out which classes are, air quote, really good and which ones are bad, which ones need a little bit of help, which ones are way overpowered, and that sort of thing. So if your class is F tier right now and you're sad, don't worry. Blizzard's looking at it. It doesn't mean you're going to be S tier tomorrow. It just means that there will be some attempts made to kind of even things out. They can never make it perfect. There will always be a best class in spec, and there will always be a worst. It's just the way that numbers work. You cannot make everybody perfectly equal. It's impossible. But I'm glad to see Blizzard is at least putting forth the effort. It's just there's a lot of subtext in here that I'll get to this in a little bit. So, okay. Let's talk about what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. The bonus event for this week is the Battleground bonus event. You're going to get the Sign of the Battle buff, honor gains from Battleground objectives, and wins increased by 50%. You can also pick up the quest A Call to Battle from Archmage Aetha Sunreaver and Silvermoon to win 4 Battleground matches, and you will be rewarded with 175 conquest and 5 marks of honor. This one is not terrible. It's not my least favorite. That's the Arena Skirmish event. But this one's, it's not like, I'm not running Battlegrounds for the lulz. But if you do like Battlegrounds, this is a good one, because you only need to win 4, and then you'll get some cool rewards. Plus you'll get a bunch of honor. So, WoW PvP is in such a weird state right now. It's actually really unfortunate, but, yeah, this is what we got this week, folks. So you'll do the Battleground bonus event and you'll like it. Or you won't. It's up to you. The PvP brawl for the week is Warsong Scramble. Do you have a flag? Warsong Gulch has always been the scene of an epic capture the flag battle. But what happens when you can capture your enemy's flag without your own at base? Or if there are multiple flags at each base? Find out when you step into this PvP brawl. We've also added a few more power-ups to the field of battle to stir things up a bit. To win, your team will need to be the first to capture 10 flags. That's right, 10 flags. When you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you will receive conquest, honor, and marks of honor as a reward. This one's fun. This is the type of thing that I do it, and I'm like, yeah, that was cool. One time. And then it's like, well, I don't need to do that ever again. But no, I mean, if you're really wanting some crazy PvP, this one's a lot of fun because it changes the strategy of Warsong Gulch. Instead of protect the flag carrier, it's no, get as many as possible. And you don't have to have somebody standing at base to guard your flag, which is the most boring part of Warsong Gulch. It's like 2 or 3 people standing there stealthed, waiting. It's like, oh god, this is dumb. So this is a better version of Warsong Gulch, in my opinion. But there you go. All right, let's move on to the main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
All right. The Race to World First, the Venomous Abyss, is now live. I was watching Liquid's stream a little bit earlier, and they were doing normal splits. So talk about the most boring part of the Race to World First, but it is part of it. So what I wanted to do, because I've already done this several times, every Race to World First since I started this show, I've gone through and talked about here's all the different guilds, and here's the history of the Race to World First, and yada, yada, yada. I don't necessarily need to do that again. What I wanted to do this time is I want to go through the raid. Here's all the boss fights, and here's kind of the basics of them. And then here's where the current state of the Race to World First is and where I see it going. and some of the issues that we currently are dealing with, and what maybe can be done differently in the future. So hopefully hopefully that works. First off, let's talk about the raid. So the Venomous Abyss is an 8 boss raid. It's in the Coiled Isle. It's actually in the underground area of Atal Utek, and it looks really fun. Actually, some of these boss fights look pretty cool. One of the things, raiding on the Burning Crusade anniversary over Modern WoW, because the last time I raided in Modern WoW was Liberation of Undermine, and it's just so noisy, and not just from a sound standpoint, but from a visualization standpoint. It's so busy. It's always something going on, or 20 things going on all at once, and I've always had a problem with that. But Blizzard has done a good job of trying to clean that up and improve the visuals, improve here's a good circle to stand in, here's a bad circle to stand in. I like that. And they are putting forth the effort. And so watching some of the streams this afternoon was like, okay, this is, at least it looks better. I mean, there's still a ton of stuff going on, but you can figure it out. It's not complicated to go, where do I stand? Because there's 9 circles. Am I running out of the healing circle, or am I running into the poison circle? I don't know. So, yeah, I feel like Blizzard's doing a really good job with that. But that being said, there are a lot of poison circles in this raid, so just beware. All right, we're going to break it down, starting with, rather than going through the bosses in order of the raid, I'm going to do the different raid finder wings, because they had to break it up differently. So normally you start with the first boss, Nexali, the Soul Coiler, and then you go into one wing, and then the next wing, and then you can kill the Twin Fangs. But for Raid Finder, and this is what you're going to get if you go to Raid Finder this week, you'll get these first 2 bosses. So the first boss is Nexali, the Soul Coiler. If you did the quest, by the way, if you did the quest line, Nexali was the priestess who originally summoned Ulatek, much to the dismay of the Amani at the time. So cold-hearted and really kind of just focused on power. Yeah, she's a interesting character. So I was glad to see her coming back for the raid. So her description here is: long ago, the Shadow Hunter Nexali and her followers were entombed by the blasphemous act of summoning Ulatek. Restored by the very power she unleashed, she calls the other soul coilers from their tombs to serve her once more. This is a pretty simple fight. Phase 1, you got to keep the adds from entering the soul coil well. Phase 2, or she transitions to phase 2 at 50% health, and she'll become immune. And then there's 2 big adds that'll come in, and you have to kill them to interrupt her cast that she's doing. And then it goes back to phase 1. And then you just need to kill the boss before she reaches full energy, or she will wipe the raid. Not a complicated fight. There's a lot of adds to keep track of, a lot of things going on, but as a intro boss, I think this one's pretty good. So, some of the intro bosses of the last few raids have been kind of dumb. I'm like, I don't like this, but this one looks pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to hitting this one. I'll probably do Raid Finder in the next couple days here. So, okay, so the next boss in the Soul Coilers wing is the Twin Fangs. The first of Ulatek's blood, Vexhull and Ithraz, brewed beneath a roiling sea of venom deep within the vault of Atal Utek. Any foolish enough to enter the prison's inner chamber risk their monstrous jaws and toxic strikes. I love whoever wrote this in the Dungeon Journal. This is great. It's such a it's like a word salad, but it's also just like, oh, it's so edgy and cool. It's just, I think it's hilarious. So it's a 2 boss fight. It's two big ass snakes, and they summon a bunch of adds throughout the fight. They're just going to repeat their mechanics through the whole fight. So one boss applies a debuff. You have to keep track of your debuffs, because once it reaches 9 stacks, you'll die. The other boss does a ground ability that has to be soaked, and it can remove up to 3 stacks of the debuff. So you need to keep track of your debuffs, get in on the soak. Obviously, the soak does a lot of damage, so you don't want to just stay in the soak all the time. So you need to kind of balance it with the people in the raid. So probably a little bit more of a communication fight. I have a feeling this is going to be a really rough one for Pugs and for Raid Finder, but hopefully it's not too terribly punishing on Raid Finder. Well, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, that's once you kill this boss, then you go into the final wing of Zul'Jin and Ulatek, but that'll be down the road. Okay, the next wing here is the Essence of Venom. We have the Entomb Sentinels, the Blood and Breath of Ulatek, bar the way to Vashnik's inner sanctum. Ancient golems that long stood guard within the vaults, now corrupted by the venom of the nightmarish monster they imprisoned. So yes, just two sentinel guys. One is green, one is red, and they do different things. You need to keep them 40 yards apart, or you'll die. The green boss spawns a slime-looking ad that pulses raid damage, so you're going to get the ad down. The red boss will put out a debuff and will spawn pools below players. And at 100 energy, the bosses will come together and restore health to the boss with less health, bring him back up to the level of the previous one, and will give all the players a stack of debuffs, and this is the best part, that must be matched up with another player to make 4, and that will cure the debuff. So if you have 3 and somebody else has 1, and you both run over each other, you'll cure the debuff, because 3 plus 1 equals 4. You have 2, somebody else has 2, same thing. But if you have 3 and somebody else has 2 and you run into each other, it does not work. It's called math. Again, this is going to be really frustrating for Pugs because there are going to be people who just don't get it. What do I do? How does this work? I'm going to die. Oh, I died. So I'm sure I haven't seen any of the guilds doing this boss on stream, but I'm sure there's going to be a million add-ons that will help you with this particular mechanic. But yeah, it has above your head, you can see it really clearly, 3 little things on your head. So it shouldn't be complicated to solve, but yeah. So if you've got 3, you need to find someone with 1. If you got 1, you need to find someone with 3. And if you 2, find someone with 2. That's it. That's the whole mechanic. But for some reason, I feel like this one's going to be gross. Anyway, that's the Entombed Sentinels. And then the wing boss for the Essence of Venom is going to be Vashnik the Malignant. Within the Chamber of Virulence, Vashnik the Malignant distills Ulatek's venoms into even more lethal forms. The creature lurks in its noxious chamber, brewing foul toxins to empower its brood. This one is a positioning fight. So there's 3 fountains, and each one has a different mechanic. So you have to stand in between the 2 different fountains, or 2 of the fountains, and you'll deal with those 2 mechanics. At 100 energy, the boss will move to the next nearest fountain, and it will empower the repeated fountain. So I think it's like purple, red, and yellow, or something like that, or green. So if you're standing in between red and purple, the boss will move over to green, and now you're standing in between purple and green, and purple is empowered. And then it just continues on like that. It obviously there's a lot more to the fight than that, but that's the basic mechanic. It's just positioning and where the boss is standing, where you're going to start, which one is going to get empowered is going to be really important. You have to start with a certain one and then stand in a certain location so that the boss moves the correct way. But yeah, that's pretty much the fight. So yeah, there you go. Vashnik the Malignant. The next wing is the Serpent Warren. First boss here is the Lost Explorers. A band of Tortolans possessed by spirits have come to their senses near the sarcophagus of an ancient soul coiler. Trapped in the vault, they seek ancient artifacts to protect themselves from further possession by vengeful spirits. So yeah, there's a spirit boss here who's controlling these Tortolans, and you have to fight them, but really you're trying to stop the spirit from mind controlling them. And he's gonna cast a spell it's a non-interruptible spell that will bring him back to life, and that will wipe the raid. But you can interrupt it if you feed fish to one of the Tortolans. But you can't, once you feed it, I think this is how this works, it wasn't exactly clear, but once you feed the fish to one of the bosses, you can't feed it to him again. So you gotta choose who it is you're feeding the fish to and communicate that. again, some interesting mechanics. And this is the type of thing that now that we're in a world without weak auras, we can have these interesting mechanics and go, okay, well, here's what you got to do. So yeah, there you go. That's the Lost Explorers. And then the wing boss is Zorak or Zorak. It's 2 S's and then Zorak. So however you pronounce that. I think I'm going to go with Zorak. Or no, Sizorak. Yeah, Sizorak. Sure. A horrifying creature warped by Ulatek's toxic venom, Sizorak is a brutal instrument of vengeance. Calling upon the winds that howl deep within Atal Utek, it tears apart any living creature it encounters. This is basically a patchwork box. It's 1 phase, and the main mechanic is to avoid and or interrupt various pushes and knockbacks, and also do a ton of DPS, or you will die to the enrage. So there you go. That's pretty cool. We need these patchwork bosses. I think that's a cool way to do it. So, all right, and then the final wing is going to be the Tomb of Ulatek. This is where it's all been pointing. The first boss here is the Coiled Altar. This is the Spirit of Malakras will not release his grip on Zul'Jan so easily. At the Coiled Altar, the shaman commands the warrior to enact the final ritual to unleash Ulatek on the Amani for revenge and to gain their promised reward. So the first phase of the fight is going to be the mutated Zul'Jan, who now looks like a snake person. Phase 2, you'll fight Malakras, and then phase 3, they're going to combine together, and you have to fight both of them at once. And that's the fight. Whatever. Yeah, you know how these types of fights go. There's a whole bunch of mechanics you're going to have to figure out, but that's the basic flow of the fight. And then the last boss, Ulatek, the great shame of the Amani Empire. The vast complex of Atal Utek was created to imprison the weapon that proved to be as much of a threat as the enemy she was intended to destroy. Ulatek has risen from her ancient slumber and threatens all of Azeroth if she should escape. Oh no! I didn't see the fight before, and obviously there's no details on it. We only have what's in the Wowhead description, which says Ulatek is a 3-phase fight with an intermission between the last 2 phases. The boss fight utilizes area denial mechanics with caustic waves, circling prey, and constant ad spawns. So whatever that means, that's the fight. Apparently it's a beast of a fight, but I haven't seen it yet. So there you go. That's the Venomous Abyss. The new raid, the initials are TVA. If you watch the Loki series or Deadpool and Wolverine, TVA is the Time Variance Authority, but here it's the Venomous Abyss. So, yeah, there you go. Like I said, it looks like a cool raid. I can't wait to get in there and try it out and check out some of these bosses. I'm sure by the end of it, we'll all be tired of snakes and poison and trolls. But for now, I'm intrigued and I'm excited. So there you go. Whew. All right, let's talk about the Race to World First then. So because the way the Race to World First works is whoever kills the final boss on Mythic first. That's the rules. There's really no other rules there. However you want to get there, you want to gear up first, if you want to just make 1,000 attempts against the boss, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But the guilds involved in the Race to World First have had a lot of practice in how exactly to do this quickly. So I wanted to kind of go through this and discuss some of the darker sides of the Race to World First, and maybe have some commentary on this. So first off, let's talk about the recent string of victories by Liquid. Liquid has won the last 4 races: Nerebar Palace, Liberation of Undermined, Manaforge Omega, and March on Quel'Danas. Obviously, the Voidspire and all the Sporefall and all the other raids, March on Quel'Danas was considered the de facto end boss of Midnight Season 1. So that's what we're going with here. But even more interesting than Liquid's 4-peat was the fact that the last 4 raids, we've had the same 4 guilds finishing in the exact same order. You have Liquid finishing first. You have Echo finishing second. You have Method finishing third. And then you've got the Chinese guild, which I can never get their names right, but the Chinese guild, which according to Google Translate should be pronounced Huo Guo Yingshang or something like that. But it roughly translates to Hot Pot Hero. So, however we want to refer to this guild, but they are fourth every single time. And remember, this is after, because in Dragonflight, these guilds all had to reform. So they had to reform at the end of Shadowlands, and then they played on a Taiwan server during Dragonflight, and then they moved back to the Chinese servers for War Within. So it's a little weird trying to keep track of this stuff, especially because I don't speak Chinese or Mandarin or anything. But yeah, it's all there on Radar.io. It's just Google Translate is your friend trying to figure this stuff out. But anyway, yeah, same 4 guilds finished in exact same order. What does that say about the race? Because you're not even getting somebody else in there. Now, the 5th place has had some variation in it, and that's fine. We had Instant Dollars in there. We had Fat Shark Yes. We had another Chinese guild, Ji Tianyong. And so that's fine. But the fact is, it's been kind of the same group of guilds every time. And it's the guilds who have the money and the resources to do exactly what it is that they're doing. And one of the most interesting parts about the Race to World First is that it is completely unofficial. There's no Blizzard representative moderating this or doing anything to kind of, follow the rules. Nope. It's just WoW. And so this is completely run by the guilds. They rent facilities. They fly their members out. They hire commentators. They have event staff, cleaning, catering, all this stuff. And they do it. Now, they make money off of this. They make money through streaming. You have the guild streams. You have member streams. They all make money. And then you have the sponsorship money. They have literal commercials that they were making with the Liquid staff for the Race to World First. I was watching their stream last time. And so it's a big business. This is not just a, hey, we're gonna do the raid first. There's a business to this. The streaming money alone is huge, but the sponsorship really, I think, sells the deal, because without the sponsorships, I don't think they'd be able to rent out the facilities that they do. And all 3 of the top guilds, the Liquid, Echo, and Method, I don't know about the Chinese guild, but I know that the US and the 2 European guilds, they all rent out a facility. They all have staff. They have commentators. They have analysts. They have people who are being paid. Now, I don't know how much they're being paid. I don't know how all the money actually works, but I do know that it's good enough money for them to do this every time. They plan for it. They are anticipating making a ton of money off of this. And I'm not opposed to that. Go for it, man. Find your way. Just like somebody can make money off of Twitch streaming by, running Mythic Plus and being interesting while they're doing it. Okay, cool, man. That's whatever you want to do. Make your money, do your hustle. That's your thing. Go for it. But it does bring up some interesting questions when you discuss the unofficial nature of the race, because this is being not just the guilds participating in it, but they're essentially running the events. And one of the problems, and this is why I saved the class tuning schedule for this segment of the show, is that while we have the guilds that participate in the race, Blizzard is participating in a way, because they go through and they kind of watch these fights and they go, oh, this one's tuned a little too tightly. Let's reduce that one just a little bit, 5%. They don't just do that in a vacuum. They communicate with the guilds and they say, hey, Liquid, hey, Echo, hey, whoever, we're going to change this boss and it's going to be this. Okay. And we're going to do it at this time. That way they can plan their schedules, because what Blizzard has been very careful not to do, and they still do it sometimes because it's impossible to fully match a 24-hour schedule, but they don't want to have a nerf to a boss right at the end of one of these guilds' raid times. So let's say Echoes, it's 1 o'clock in the morning local time. I think they raid in Germany. 1 o'clock in the morning there, and then at that time Blizzard releases a nerf to the boss that they're currently working on. Well, now they're going to go to bed knowing that Liquid's probably going to come in and kill that boss while they're asleep. And that's not fun for them, but it also is weird that Blizzard is going through and tuning this as it goes. Blizzard is literally modifying these fights while these guilds are essentially testing them for Blizzard. And the other thing that I find really interesting about this is that this is not the I want to say this correctly. Most players are never going to see this version of these fights. Mythic Race to World First is not the same as Mythic Raid. And I'm not saying that one is the official raid and one's not. I'm just saying that by the time that most guilds who are going to clear Mythic Raid get to that point after the first few bosses or whatever, it's not the same raid. It has been nerfed, it has been changed. Some mechanics are sometimes completely removed or reworked entirely. Classes have been changed. They've got this class schedule now. So let me read this to you. Blizzard says, with the launch of Curse of Ulatek, the first major content update for Midnight, we're sharing an updated look on our class tuning roadmap for Season 2. The Curse of Ulatek content brings us a broad set of class updates along with the opening of the Coil Dial and its new challenges. As we monitor class performance across the Venomous Abyss, Mythic Keystone Dungeons, PvP delves, and other endgame activities, we will use a combination of internal data and player feedback to identify opportunities for targeted adjustments, while preserving the strengths and gameplay identity of each specialization. Our next planned tuning pass will arrive with the start of Midnight Season 2 on August 18th, when normal, heroic, and mythic difficulties of the Venomous Abyss open and the new Mythic Plus and PvP seasons begin. We expect to follow with additional adjustments after reviewing the first full week of live Season 2 data. Thereafter, we will continue to evaluate balance as players progress through PvP Mythic difficulty, push higher Mythic Keystone levels, and acquire Season 2 class sets and optimize gear. Early progression tuning will generally be conservative, especially before Ulatek has been defeated on Mythic difficulty, to avoid unnecessary disruption to competitive progression. That said, if we notice unhealthy trends beginning to emerge, we will quickly develop tuning changes to ensure a more equitable start to the season. Once more representative data is available, we'll make broader adjustments where appropriate and schedule additional check-in passes throughout the season. So we've got August 18th, August 25th, September 1st, and then September 22nd. And this is additional tuning passes as needed. Now, there's a couple of key points in here. It says, we will use a combination of internal data and player feedback to identify opportunities for targeted adjustments. Where do you think that player feedback is coming from this week? Later on, it says, each progression tuning will generally be conservative, especially before Ulatek has been defeated on Mythic difficulty to avoid unnecessary disruption to competitive progression. So, if they're noticing that a particular class is really strong or really weak, or whatever it is, usually it's when a class is too strong and they feel like it needs to be nerfed. They don't do that until after the boss is dead, because if they do, it would completely change how those guilds are approaching the boss. Right now, Arms Warriors are really strong. If Blizzard were to nerf Arms Warriors tomorrow, that would completely change how everything works. Even worse, if they nerfed Arms Warriors in 5 days. And so now we've got almost a full week of progression on these fights, and they'd have to completely level in new characters because now Arms Warriors are trash, or whatever the reason is. And that's where we run into this problem, because Blizzard is not officially part of the Race to World First, but it's right here in the text. They are participating in this because they are adjusting this around the race. They don't want to do it in a way that's going to disrupt the race because they know it's a big deal, which I get that. But why? Why is it that everything needs to be focused on the race as far as these tuning passes go? There's going to be tuning passes. They're putting it right here, but they want to be really careful with it because they don't want to mess up these guilds. So what my question is, first of all, Mythic raiding is a completely different animal when it comes to the difficulty. If you've ever done Heroic Raid and you know it's a challenge and you go, okay, that was hard, but it's doable. And by a normal guild of normal people, Heroic Raid is completely doable. Mythic Raid is a different beast. The fights are extremely difficult, very punishing. If you make a mistake on a mechanic, you just die. You're just gone. You could have a mechanic that requires 5 people in your group to all do the same exact thing in the perfect order, and if you don't, it's wipe. The memory game from Lura was an example of that. You had to get it just right, or whoop, dip, done. So, with all of this going into the Race to World First, I'm really curious to see kind of where things fall in terms of the tuning, in terms of Blizzard's participation, because I feel like Blizzard could have taken this over in the past and said, we're going to make this an official esport. Here's how we're going to do it. There's going to be a tournament realm. There's going to be whatever there's a ton of choices around out there. People have suggested doing a tournament realm. People have suggested putting it on the PTR, doing gear scaling where your gear doesn't matter. And it's just a matter of you go in there and it's just your skill. But these things all have flaws, or these ideas all have flaws, because if you're doing the Race to World First on the PTR, that means you're doing it before it actually comes out. So all these guilds who are going to see it happen, and so it's going to kind of change the feeling of it, right? It's not going to feel as cool or as epic as it does right now. And if you do it on a tournament realm, then you have these guilds who are going to do it, and they're going to spend all this time earning no gear, creating nothing for their characters. They're going to be done with this tournament, and then they're going to have to go back to their regular characters now 2 weeks out from the launch of the season and have to catch up on their gear. Because honestly, one of the things that these guilds do towards the end of the season is they sell runs. That's how they make a lot of their money or their gold for purchasing like consumables and BOEs and things like that. So it would completely change the Race to World First. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be changed. Oh, don't you change my Race to World First. No, what I'm saying is it needs to be done very carefully and very thoughtfully. If you're going to make changes to the Race to World First, you have to consider all aspects of it. Like I said, if you do a tournament realm, there's a whole list of problems with that. And you're going to have guilds that don't want to participate anymore, because while, yes, they'll still get those streaming dollars, they're basically doubling their work then, because they have to go and do all of this work on progging the fights, and then you go and now you've got to level up or gear up your characters who have just been sitting there for 2 weeks. Now, the cool thing about doing a tournament realm, or one of the positives, is that it would create here's the Venomous Abyss tournament edition, right? And you could make it crazy difficult, super hard, crazy mechanics that it's like, no, you got to be perfect to get this right. And you don't have to worry about nerfing it either. You can just be like, all right, yep, figure it out. But it's going to diminish, I think, the participation. It would just be a prestige thing. And right now, the race it's partially about prestige, but it's partially about building these guilds up and making them these powerhouses that they are today. Now, again, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to reduce the dominance of the liquids and the echoes. But I think that you're going to have a lot of frustration from those guilds if you do that. If Blizzard were to just take over the race and say, we're going to administer it, but it's basically going to work the exact same as it does now, I think the problem there is that you have, you still have the same thing. You have splits, right? Like I said, Liquid was doing normal splits when I looked at their stream earlier. Normal raid, they were doing splits. How boring is that? Like, cool, I get to see the fight, but I want to see them doing heroic at least, if not the mythic version of the raid, right? And yeah, that's not what we were getting. And that's because they need to gear up. And so what these top guilds have started doing is they create 20 alts, and they take each person through the raid, or a couple people through, and they funnel them gear. So you get all this gear, and you run it again with a different alt for everybody. And everybody gets their alts geared up. Everybody gets their mains geared up first, so that they can go through and run all of these, running with plus or running heroic raid or whatever it is that they're doing. But the goal is to get their main characters geared up as quickly as possible. And sometimes you need to be able to switch. So let's say one of the tanks, I think it was on a Blood DK last season, and then he had to switch to a Druid tank. So both of those tanks need to be geared in order for that to work. And that's something that Liquid does and Echo does. I don't know really Method. I haven't watched any of their streams. But I'm assuming that there's some similarities. And if they've run third for the last 4 seasons, there's got to be something that they're doing that's similar to the others. But anyway, it really just boils down to, what is this going to give to the people who are watching this? If it becomes an official esport run by Blizzard, what are people going to get out of it? Because right now, what you're getting out of it is weeks of splits or days of splits, and then maybe 3 or 4 days of raid prog. Depending on the difficulty of the boss, it could go into after a reset. The end of the Race to World First is always really fun, but the beginning sucks. The beginning of the Race to World First is like watching a baseball game in June, when the weather's getting warm and your team is 12 games out of first place and you have no idea what's going on. There's just a bunch of bums out there, versus watching in September when the playoff or the pennant is on the line and you're trying to, get to the playoffs. There's a difference, and having it matter, I think, increases the stakes and increases the excitement for it. So again, I don't know if there's a good way to do this. I don't know if there's a better way that Blizzard can handle the tuning. If they could just say, hey, here's the raid. This is what it is. It's what they used to do. They used to just say, here's the raid. And then players would do it and say, okay, well, this isn't going to work. And Blizzard had to come back, a month later and hotfix Cthulhu because he was, quote, unkillable. I just think that long term, for the benefit of WoW, there needs to be something created, because right now the Race to World First is honestly running itself into the ground. It's still very exciting and still really cool, but what would happen if one of these guilds decided they didn't want to participate anymore? It's basically going to topple the entire race, and so Blizzard can't really jump in. They are stuck in this position of, as Jason Lucas pointed out when he was talking about the Race to World First on the Solo Q podcast, Blizzard's sitting on a fence right now. They don't want to be hands off, but they don't want to make it official. So what are they doing? They're kind of just tinkering here and there, a little bit there, a little bit there. So, right now, Race to World First is not exciting. In a week, it'll be a lot more exciting, and I will enjoy that. I will. I always do. But I have to say, it's definitely been soured by kind of oh boy, the Yankees won again. It's just, okay, I guess, Boston Celtics, here we go. I don't know. Is Liquid more of the Boston Celtics, or are they more of the Lakers? I guess we'll see. And really the question that I want to ask and just leave kind of unended there is, has Mythic rating and Blizzard's approach to it, is it balanced around a competition that technically doesn't exist? They acknowledged it in that blue post, but technically it doesn't exist. It's not a real competition. So are they putting all of this time and effort into something that really doesn't exist? There's no rules. Liquid's GM Max has talked about that, where people say, well, why don't you just talk to Echo and tell them XYZ? It's like, no, you can't do that. It's not going to work. There's no rules. There's nobody who's going to force them to follow it. So, this is a full-on competition that doesn't exist. All right. It's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. I do have to say that this Race to World First episode, I'm excited by the raid, but the race has really kind of started to sour on me. So I'll keep doing these episodes every 6 months, but I really wish that Blizzard would do something better. They need to do better. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I really don't. I could come up with 20 different alternates for the Race to World First and then shoot each one of them down because it's a bad idea for these reasons. So it's what it is. All right. Anyway, if you're enjoying the show, as I mentioned earlier, and you would like to help us out, you could consider leaving a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those really help out with the distribution, getting the podcast out there to more people. Definitely helps. And as I said before, if you leave a comment or review, I will read it on the air. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can help us out by giving us a like and a comment and a subscribe there. That would help out too. Although YouTube has been going through some weird things as of late, so who knows? Who even knows with YouTube? And the other way you could help us out is by considering joining our Patreon, patreon.com/AzerothUnited, where people can support the show through the use of their IRL money. I'm not asking for a bunch of, give me all your money, but it's always helpful to have people who are willing to support the show and appreciate what I do here and want to help out a little bit. I do appreciate that. And, it does help me to, I had to go through it with the financing, because, I planned my BlizzCon trip and I looked at it and I realized my, podcast budget is out of the roof for this year because of spending so much money on BlizzCon. So I had to be really careful. So I haven't made any purchases this year because, it's coming out of my pocket, so I gotta think about these sorts of things. But, it does help. If people want to support the show, that's great. But like I've said before, and I will continue to say, Azeroth United will always be free. And I will never put it behind some sort of a paywall. And I have no intentions right now of putting ads in front of the show or in the middle of the show. I really hate that. So this is how people can support the show. And if you want to do it, great. If you don't, it's all good. I do want to thank some of our patrons right now who have supported the show. Stuglife, Theliel, Greybeard, Raven, Azarin, Luch. Thank you all so much. And thank you to all of our patrons. You'll definitely help make Azeroth United possible. And that's it. So thank you again. And remember to be good to each other. That's a real life person on the other side of that keyboard. And maybe they like the race to world first. And that's cool. They can. There's nothing wrong with it, even if it technically doesn't exist. But just remember to smile and be kind to each other. All right. Take care. I love you all. And I'll see you in Azeroth.